CJ Zachary is a best-selling children's book author who works exclusively with her illustrator husband, Zach. The husband and wife team is from Arkansas and work in elementary education. Zach is an art teacher, while CJ is a dyslexia interventionist. She also has taught kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and has served as a literacy facilitator. Their first book, The Awkward Avocado, teaches the importance of acceptance and self-love. It has been a smash hit since its release in 2022. CJ and Zach just recently released the sequel, Awkward Avocado and the Interrupting Raptor. Their children are the inspiration behind their hit children's books. I hope you enjoy our interview. All right, well, CJ, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to meet you and talk to you, and I've been a fan of your books for a while now. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I'm excited too. I'm so excited to do this. This is gonna be so much fun.
I know. So, well, I want to, obviously you work in education, and I know that like as a career, like there's so much work that goes into, like the hours you put into education. It's a lot of work. And I'm just like curious, what inspired you to write a children's book with your career?
Well, I've been in education for 15 years. And Zach and I did something else completely different from education before we decided to go back to school and be educators. And we both went to college for totally different things, because he's, the artist. He went for graphic design, and I actually went for pediatric physical therapy, but I just knew I always wanted to work with kids. And my favorite subject has always been writing to teach, and I love to teach writing. And I have loved to write at least since the first grade. Because my first grade teacher will still talk about it. And when I started writing in first grade, it was like little poems, and I liked poetry and kind of stuck with that for a long time. And then when I graduated college, I decided, I'm going to write the great American novel, and this is going to be awesome, and they're going to turn it into a movie. And fast forward 15 years later, had not finished the novel, which I'm sure so many novelists can be like, yes, I've been working on this for decades. And Zach, my husband, had talked about wanting to do comic books. And one day we were just like, let's just pause on the comic books. Let's pause on the novel, since I've already paused it for 15 years. And let's meet in the middle, and let's try a children's book. I'll write it, you illustrate it. And we just kind of decided to do it then, and started putting, ideas down in a little idea notebook for what all we'd come up with that we thought kids would relate to and kids would enjoy reading. So that's just kind of how it all began.
And I'm always so fascinated by children's book authors, because like everything about children's books is just like so creative. Like for example, like in your instance in the Awkward Avocado, like your characters are like, they're fruit and vegetables, but they convey like such a deeply human story. Like it's amazing. So how did you come up with the concept for the Awkward Avocado, and like its concept, its themes, everything?
So we were talking in our room, and we had our little idea notebook out, and we had some cute stuff, and we were like, well, which one do we want to start with? Which one do we think we can really take off with? And our daughter, who is very much like Zach, and she's very shy, very introverted, and has a lot of little quirks, she just walked in the bedroom, and she didn't say anything. She just started kind of waving and just walked out backwards. And we were like, okay, we're like, you're just so awkward. And I swear, if we would have been cartoon characters, you would have seen the light bulb over our head. Oh my gosh. And I swear to you, I turned the page in that notebook, and I started writing down all her little quirks that she does. And like, I say she's introverted. She's got all these little quirks. I mean, you can read the book. There's 30 quirks in there that are completely her. But she, like sports, and she's got friends and stuff. So she's not like completely antisocial. Right. But we started writing these down and just talking about how awkward she was. And it just flowed out. And it's like I almost had the whole book right there in that instance. And then with as far as the title, I knew I wanted awkward in it. I knew it had to have the word awkward in it. And being an ex-kindergarten teacher, I really like alliteration and rhyme. And really, it, kind of flowed out in kind of poetry in verse like I'd always done. It's like I reverted back to my 5-year-old self and just kind of kept going with the poetry and the rhyme. And so since I like alliteration, that was just the first thing that popped in my head was like, oh, the awkward avocado. And so that was just like the idea of the title. And then Zach went to his workstation and drew out this little picture. And I said, oh my gosh, that's it. And it ended up being the cover of what you see on the book. That was the very first little idea that Zach's like, you think like this? And I said, oh, that's it. This is the idea. We're going with this one. And that's going to be the cover. That's the cutest thing.
It's perfect. And like the way it came together it's amazing. And it's such a great story. And I think there's a reason why people have loved it so much. And I want people to buy the book and I want people to read it. So without giving everything away, what is something that you would like, children and families to take away from reading it?
It's always been throughout history, but I really feel like these days kids are really struggling with self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And they're really like struggling with trying to feel like they have to conform to certain stereotypes or feel like they have to conform to the norms, or this idea of how they should behave and how you should act and how you should look. And the negativity, they just kind of draw on negativity of others. And I really just want people to be able to relate to the book and take away that there is no norm and there is no way you have to be. Just be yourself and it's fine. And it doesn't matter if you're different, because if we weren't all different, life would just be boring if we were all the same. But, kids don't really understand that. But if you can just make something relatable to them and they can see, oh, I act like this too. And it's okay that I act like this and I do these things. And that's completely normal because there really is no normal,
Exactly.
Just to accept themselves.
I feel like for kids, it's so hard to accept that. Like, not until you get older do you realize that, like, it's cool to be different.
Exactly.
Like kids, it's so hard. I mean, you see it. I don't work in education, but I just,
Oh yeah, see it every day. Oh yeah. Especially when like a certain group, and it's confidence too, because kids pretty much either you're one or the other. Either you're like overtly confident in yourself or you're just, well, I'll just do what this kid is doing because I'm just not confident enough to do it. But that's what I want, is just to kids to be like, it's okay and I can love myself. And also, if they are that more confident kid, to be accepting of this kid that's not like you. And it's kind of hard to see sometimes if you're like super extrovert and super confident to even realize that people wouldn't be like you.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot, like just from what you post on social, it seems like a lot of people are the message is getting through to so many people. And overall, just the Awkward Avocado, I mean, and we'll talk about your second book shortly, but just your first book, it's been such an amazing success. And just a two-part question. Like, I know that succeeding in self-publishing is all about persistence and effort. Like it's hard work. And so I wanted to know, like, what type of, for inspiration for other authors like yourself, because I always say when I talk to people that I work with here that like you and Zach have done like everything right when it comes to self-publishing a successful children's book. So, what initiatives did you do to promote and market the book? And did you expect it to take off quite like it did?
So when we first started out, I think as most first-time authors, you're like, I'm going to make this book and it's cute and people are just going to buy it, and it's just going to take off. And you've got to learn the ropes because there are ropes to learn. And luckily, we published with Book Baby, and you guys have so many good articles and webinars and stuff. I read every blog post, everything that Book Baby said to do, we did it. If they were like, you need a YouTube channel. Yes, we're starting a YouTube channel. You know, you need a website. Okay, yes, we're starting a website. And then, you know, there's so many good indie author groups on Facebook, and just joined all those. And it's just such a great community of just advice, you know, all the time, just great chunks of advice. And just every webinar I could go to, I did. And I just had like a notebook of ideas. This is what we need to do. So basically every piece of advice, we just took it and rolled with it. And, you know, you need the social media, and you need the website, and you need the YouTube channels, and you've got to put it out there, because if it's not out there, how are people going to find your book?
Exactly.
It's kind of like what you don't realize, like, you can't just put it out into the universe. You have to tell people about it, or they're not going to find it.
It's like starting a
is
business.
so
Like you
hard.
have
Yes.
to, yeah, you got to build it from the ground up, because like your book is your business and you're the publisher and you have to promote it. But yeah, and I love the work you all do. Like I love your social channel. I also love the in-person events you do. Like I love the kid who wears the avocado suit. It's amazing.
So we found that avocado suit. I was like, okay, I don't care how much it costs, because we're going to use it at like every
It's
event.
amazing.
So every time I go to like a school visit or an author signing, I'll ask a teacher, who's the kid with the biggest personality? I've got a costume for them. I need like a sweet kid with a big personality. And so there's always a kid willing to put that avocado costume on.
Okay,
And
so
it
you're
makes for
recruiting.
yeah.
You're
And
recruiting.
it's not that hard. It's like, who wants to wear this?
Amazing.
But it's the teachers always know. It's like, what kid would wear this and just be like really good? And it's usually an older kid, like
Yeah.
is good with the younger kids and get them, you know, hyped up. And it's so cute. I love that one.
So did you expect it to blow up like it did, or did it come a little bit as a surprise?
Okay, so here's something you got to know about me. First off, I am kind of maybe overly optimistic and overly hopeful. And I'm an Enneagram 3. If you know anything about that, we're a very rare breed. Not many people get 3. So me being the overachiever, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to come out. We're going to, first week, New York Times bestseller. We're going to retire and we're going to move to the beach this year. I mean, I just, you know, you're planning outfits. You're talking to Kelly Clarkson and practicing in the shower. You know, you're on the Today Show. So I did.
That's good.
Zach is grounded.
Mhm.
So he just laughs at me, because I'm always like out in space, and he's like the person that's got to pull me back down, you know. And he's like, I think it's really cute that you think all this is going to happen, but you know, it takes a lot of work, like Zach knew. And so I did eat some humble pie right when it came out, but he and my family and my friends are really excited, and they're like, it's doing good. I think you're doing good. But since I'm, you know, I don't have the mansion on the beach, I'm like, we're failing.
Well,
So everybody has to bring me back down to earth.
the thing with children's books though is it's like there's not a limit for them, because they just continue to stay relevant, and like
Yeah.
the messages are timeless. So it's like it's a long process, and
Oh, it is.
you know, from what I've seen and know about the industry, your book has been doing amazing. So
Thank you.
the optimism is good.
It is. I just have to breathe and bring myself back down.
So, well, speaking of Zach, you know, you and him are a unique team, because, you know, obviously with children's books, I talk with a bunch of authors who collaborate with illustrators, but you're the first person I've met who collaborates with their husband, their significant other. So, you know, what does the creative process look like with you two? Like collaboration, just, you know, working, like having that working relationship, obviously, in addition to being married.
So Zach and I work really well together. We've been together since we were 14. Like, we have dated since we were 14. And if we weren't dating, we were really good friends. So I married my best friend. And so we work really well together. So, and Zach knows he's the artist and I'm the writer, and we kind of don't cross into each other's fields, but we throw out ideas together. So if he's got an idea for something, I'm going to add that in. And if he illustrates something, I'm like, oh, what if we added this in there? Then, we're open to each other's ideas. But usually, like with the first book, I wrote it down, and then I put this on social media too before. This is my secret shame, is that I still cut up a little paper book and I make a little mock-up,
Okay,
book.
interesting.
And I will every once in a while maybe just sketch out a little illustration of kind of, if I've got an image in my head, like this is what was in my head when I wrote this. And I don't get my feelings hurt if he doesn't use that or anything. I just say, this is what I was thinking. But usually with, his artist mind and his creativity, he comes up with something way better than me. He's like, but I was thinking this. I was like, oh, that's way better. That's way better. But he'll storyboard out like the whole thing and then show me, and he'll illustrate it out. And then we'll look at every illustration together. When he gets through with the page, we look at it. And that's when we decide, like, maybe we should make that this color, or what if we added this in there? So it's a really good collaboration, and we really work well off of each other.
Yeah, I feel like a writer and an illustrator, just they each have like different brains, and there's give and take on both sides. And I think that when you work together, like when each side like opens their mind up to something the other one's saying, and then vice versa, it's really what makes a project work well together. And that definitely reigned true with the work you did. And so your first book, The Awkward Avocado, was released last year, 2022. How long was the process of start to finish, writing, illustrating, creating the book?
I really think from that day that we started writing it and mapping it out and storyboarding and illustrating and the whole publishing process with Book Baby, it really, from the time we started it to the time we pushed the publish button, it was about 8 months.
Okay. Which
seems really fast if you compare, the 20, 25 years I've been working on that novel. That's not going to happen. So, that seems pretty fast, but maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is with it seemed like almost everything with the book was meant to be, like you said, like with your daughter walking in. I don't know, sometimes when a project is just like supposed to happen, like it just happens.
It just flows out like that, yeah.
And for you, what did you find like most fulfilling with, self-publishing this children's book and getting your message out there?
Well, with self-publishing, I really like that you're the creator. Nobody's holding your ideas back. You can do what you want, especially with Zach and I, because usually, when you go the traditional route, they pair you with a illustrator. We just wanted to say what we wanted to say, and he wanted to do what he wanted to do with his art. So I really liked that. And I really I've liked this whole journey because you get to be a part of everybody seeing this book, and you get everyone's feedback from it. And it's you, like you said, it's your business. You're pushing it out there. You're at the forefront with everybody, and you're getting that feedback right then from everyone. It's been a really good journey with the self-publishing.
Well, now
I don't do anything else.
And now after your first journey, you've decided to come back for more. You have a second book out there.
Yes. So the second book, the first one was my daughter. And so the second book, we also have a son, and we knew we had to do one for him. First of all, so we wouldn't get his feelings hurt. He was excited for his sister. His feelings weren't really hurt, but he's the really loud, colorful one. So our daughter's like Zach, our son is like me. And so we're like, oh, his is going to be fun. We're going to make this fun. And with the first one, it was just so sweet. And we just made everything so simplistic. Like even with the illustrations, there's not a lot of color. There's not a whole lot of detail because it was all about the message. So with this one, we were like, we're going to put a little more detail in the illustration. It's going to be a little more colorful. It's going to be more loud. Because it's called Awkward Avocado and the Interrupting Raptor, which Zach came up with. I may have come up with the Awkward Avocado the first one, but he's like, when we do Ronins, it's got to be the Interrupting Raptor, because my son actually roars all the time. And you can hear it in the book trailer, that we made. That's him. That's my kids' voices, and that's him doing his little roar that I can't do. It's like in his throat. And so he would interrupt all the time, and he wouldn't even have to be there in the room. He could just be off somewhere in the house. You're just trying to have a conversation, and you hear this raptor, like roaring in the house. So Zach's like, it's got to be called the Interrupting Raptor. And it's really just about their relationship. And it's probably all little brothers, because I too am a big sister, that I'm almost 8 years older than him. So a lot of that comes from mine and my brother's relationship too. But it's mainly Kinley and Ronan. Like, it's mainly how they interact with each other and how he lovingly annoys her. But so it's got a little humor, got a little heart. My kids' relationship, that's their humor, and mine and my brother's relationship is more the heart of it. I'm sure my parents would say that it wasn't like that at one point, but the memories we have are very sentimental, and we're like best friends. And
Exactly.
maybe they'll be one day too.
You don't need to remember any arguments.
No.
So what were the creative processes any different for creating a sequel, or was it pretty much similar?
It was really similar. I think we just felt more comfortable this time. It did take longer to write this one, just because with Kinley, it just flowed out, and it just happened right then. With this second one being about both of them, some of it, like the beginning, flowed out, and then it was like, what am I gonna write about? Nobody cares about every single thing they do, so it's like, what's the little funny things they do?
Right.
And then I really wanted to keep it the same with the verse and the rhyme, like the first one. And we'll probably, with the other books in the series, probably just keep it like that. Maybe in the future, when we do another series, it'll be more like a story, with characters interacting. But I really like the verse, and that's kind of just my thing, I guess, since first grade. It's just, I like the verse and the poetry, and almost kind of lyrical. I like it like that. But the process was pretty much the same. It's just maybe a little easier as far as getting things done, but maybe a little harder to write.
Yeah. You're aware of like how publishing in general works, but the writing might be a little bit different. I mean, it's, but I think you do a really nice job keeping it, like, you could tell it fits into the original themes of the Awkward Avocado, but like it's truly its own story, and I love it. So I'm excited for people to start reading that as well.
I know, I am too. I want to hear from all the siblings how they feel
All right,
about
I know. I actually have 2 younger siblings, so I can understand the.
Oh, so you're the oldest.
I actually have one older. Well, there's 4 of us. I have 3.
Oh, gracious.
Yeah, I have 3 brothers. There's 4 of us total. I'm the second oldest, so 2 younger ones. So like I mentioned before, like you work in education. You're very busy. You're 2 kids, like, and there's a lot, like, for self-published authors, they have careers and busy lives. So how do you balance your busy career and your personal life with the amount of work you put into writing and publishing and promoting your books?
Yeah, it's tough. It's a lot. So if we wake up pretty early in the morning, and we'll try to do things in the morning, maybe just do a little social media, here and there, make a little post, interact with people, just, before we start getting ready. And then you do your 7:30 to 3:30.
Well, if you work in education, you're probably up at 4 a.m. Everybody I know who works in education is up at like 4.
Yeah, the dreams wake you up, and then like the lists in your head of things you have to do is like, oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you to do that today. And then you just start, you just wake up early and start doing it. And like now I was a kindergarten 1st and 2nd grade teacher, and I taught all those. And so if I was still in that classroom setting, I think it would be so much harder to get all of this done, because you do bring that work home with you. But now that I really just work with dyslexic kids and I'm a dyslexic interventionist, I can leave a lot of that at work. And so I can do like the 7:30 to 3:30 and get to come home and do, mom stuff and wife stuff. And my kids are pretty good about not being needy, and they're pretty independent, especially my oldest. But our phones are like everything now. So I can carry a phone around with me and make dinner. I can carry a phone around with me and tie a shoe, so that's easy. But really a lot of work gets done on the weekends and breaks. And we just try to fit all the little pieces in, early in the morning or at night before we go to bed. Because we are early, like, don't mess with my sleep. Like, we're in that bed at 8. So
that's the best time, honestly. I'm usually in bed by 8:30, but I have TV time.
Yeah, we're in the bed. The TV might be on. I mean, we might turn it off at like 9.
What are some of your favorite ways to promote the book? I know you like to do the in-person events. You do amazing work on social media, and I'll plug all your handles so people could follow. Like, what are some of your favorite ways to spread the word about your books?
Being in education, the author's visits to the schools are my favorite, hands down. And you see so many kids. I mean, there's like 500 kids in a school, and mostly I do work with K2 because that's your audience. Like our books are really K2. But I have really started going to see the older kids too, because I have like a PowerPoint that talks about the process we go through, and they're really at that age where they think it's cool, like, oh, I can make my own book. Whereas like the younger kids, they just want to ask you questions and, tell you that they have a cat and then they went to the beach. It's not really questions about the book. You just get a lot of anecdotes. But the older kids are really fun because they're actually asking questions about the copyright and the digital art. So that's been really fun because I'm a littles, I'm K2. So to get to talk to the big kids, I think that's really fun because it's not something I've ever really gotten to do before, and they love it. So, and Zach does, it's really easy to get them because Zach also does like maps for Fortnite. And so if I mention that, they're like, and then I've got them because they're kind of acting like, oh, I'm in 6th grade. I don't need to listen to this person. I'm like, I don't know if y'all have ever heard of Fortnite. And they are listening to the whole presentation. But it's fun.
I mean, even though like your books are written like for like a reading level of young children, like older kids like that, like the message is still super important for them.
Oh,
Like insecurity is a huge issue with, like older, like 12, 13-year-old kids. Like it's hard being a kid. I coach 8th grade baseball at the local middle school, and like sometimes I share that message with them. I'm like, it's all right, you don't have to be like the cool kids. Like,
you just kind of talk to them like, here, read this book to your younger sibling. Just read it to them. But it resonates with the older kids too. And I've had so many adults say, oh my gosh, this is me. I totally get this book. This is totally me. So like the adults resonates with the adults too.
Do you hear a lot of feedback from readers?
I do, actually. It's so neat. I love social media for that because I hear from people in Canada and Australia that you wouldn't like normally hear from, and a lot of it is teachers and who've shared it with their class, and it's part of their SEL, their social emotional learning. And the moms of kids who feel different, and I'm a crybaby and I'm going to try not to cry, but the moms of the kids who feel different, that's the ones I really love hearing from, and they'll message me just out of nowhere. Like, I won't have been talking to this person or know this person. And it's a lot of moms of like autistic children. And I've taught so many autistic kids, and they're just so bright, and it's just a social, thing for them. and not being able to kind of socialize with their peers. And for the moms to be like, my son reads this every night, he really loves this character because it's like him. And I just love hearing from them. It's such like author validation, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I reached somebody and they love it. I love to hear from them.
But yeah, just like hearing from families, like that's what matters the most. And it's amazing to hear that you've touched so many people's lives and you're helping, and it's going to continue to grow. It's over time, people are going to keep reading it.
I hope so.
Well, I have 2 more questions for you, and then I will let you go back to your busy life. So, my first of my final 2 is, what advice do you have for authors who are similar to yourself, have a story to tell, but might be hesitant to start the process of writing a children's book?
I think if it's, something you've always wanted to do and it's always been a dream, do it. I mean, especially with self-publishing, it's really easy with BookBaby. I don't know how it is like with other, I'm biased, but I don't know how it is with other people, but BookBaby's got so many different packages, that you could, whatever level, like spending level you're at, if that's what's holding you back, or if it's just you're lost and kind of don't know where to go, there's so many people at BookBaby to help, and they've just been so helpful for us. And I mean, if you're reluctant, join those Facebook groups of indie authors, and talk to other authors and just take the plunge, because it's just so rewarding. That's been the biggest thing, is it's something I've wanted to do since I was little, and I finally did it. So, it's just the sense of accomplishment that you feel. So don't be scared. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, you can fix it, and that can be your second edition.
Exactly.
Just kind of jump in, and it doesn't have to be that bestseller the first time out. You learn along the way, and then you'll come out with that next one, and it'll just build on it and be better and better. But I would definitely say do it if it's something you've always wanted to do, because you're never too old to accomplish something. I mean, it's been 35 years since I first had the dream. Not that I'm 35, I'm 40, but from 5.
Well, and also your great American novel might still come one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'll stick with the children's books.
You don't think you'd ever write a novel?
I don't know. Several older kids at authors visits have asked me to write a chapter book, that's more for them. And I was like, okay, I might could do a chapter book. I don't know if I'll ever finish that now. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, what does the future look like for you, Zach, the Awkward Avocado? I know you kind of hinted at this where you mentioned there might be more books. So what do you have in the future?
So hopefully this year we will publish our 3rd book. And it's a Christmas book about our crazy, wonderful family. And I hope Zach is working on that as we speak, because we are at the illustration stage of that. So I think he's about a little over halfway through illustrating that. And this one, like we talked about earlier, of having more detail, especially with the illustration, this one's going to be like so many details, because it's Christmas, and Christmas is just decorations and all kinds of traditions. So the illustrations are just beautiful. And Zach says this one is going to be his favorite. I think the second one is my favorite. But Zach thinks the Christmas one's going to be his favorite, and we are super excited about doing that one. There's so many little Easter eggs for our family to see, and people who knows our family. So I can't wait for them to be like, oh my gosh, that's me, or that's this, because Zach's family is like Italian and mine is Belgian, and we have so many different traditions that are crazy and all up in the book. So we're excited about that one, but it should be coming out later this year for the holiday season. And then I think we might do a couple more with the Awkward Avocado series, and then we might try a new series from one of those ideas in the idea notebook.
All right. Well, this is a lot, plenty of content to produce. I'm excited. I also love Christmas. So Christmas is my favorite holiday. So
me too.
I'm excited for your Christmas book.
We're excited too. I cannot wait.
But I want to say thank you. This has been amazing to talk to you, and I'm so happy for you and Zach, and the work you're doing is amazing. So thank you for being here. I really,
Thank
really
you so much,
appreciate it.
Joe. Thank you for this. It was so much fun.